China is doing whatever it can to influence the US, but states like Texas and its governor are taking a tough stance against it. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. If you've been following my twin brother, Chris Chappell's other channel, China Uncensored, you'd know by now that China is waging unrestricted warfare on the US. It's pumping the US with fentanyl, stealing US technology, hacking into critical infrastructure, exporting its repression abroad, and whatever the heck this cheap knockoff is. Are they trying to add crust to our teeth? They're attacking us via dental hygiene. While keeping busy with all that, China has also been working to influence the US by targeting state and local governments. And China's been quite successful on that front. Utah lawmakers have found friends in Chinese officials and have given them legislative and public relations victories by delaying or shutting down legislation and resolutions that China doesn't approve of. Utah isn't alone. In New York, former governor aide Linda Sun is alleged to have schemed to advance Chinese interests by seeking to shape the governor's public messages on China and arranging meetings for Chinese officials, all at the request of Chinese officials. And to this day, officials across the US continue to insist that we need to keep ties with China, no matter its human rights abuses or hostile behavior. But as some US officials are cozying up to China, others are standing up to it. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is among them, figuratively. Back in 2021, Abbott signed the Lone Star Infrastructure Protection Act, which prevents companies from hostile nations, like China, from accessing or working on critical infrastructure in Texas. And in 2022, Abbott directed all state agencies to ban Chinese-controlled TikTok from state-owned and state-issued devices and networks. He also encouraged the investment advisor Vanguard to create a new China-free emerging market fund and told the University of Texas, Texas A&M Investment Management Company to divest from China. He's not letting people use TikTok or invest in China. What's he trying to do? Protect their money and mental health? And that's not the half of it. Last week, Abbott made a splash with 3 new executive orders aimed at China. Executive Orders 47, 48, and 49. Executive Order 47 orders the Texas Department of Public Safety to bring criminal charges against people who prey on dissidents on behalf of any foreign adversary, work with law enforcement to assess transnational repression incidents, provide policy recommendations to counter such threats, and develop training programs to identify transnational repression and create a hotline to report on oppression or coercion. In case there's any doubt what the goal of the bill is, Abbott pretty much spelled it out directly by ordering DPS to take the following actions to protect Texans, including Texans of Chinese descent, from the unlawful and repressive actions of the PRC, the CCP, and their proxies in Texas. If that wasn't a direct call-out, I don't know what is. But it gets even better. The way this executive order was written is brilliant. It specifically points out how Texas is home to more than 250,000 individuals of Chinese descent, and how Chinese people are often the primary victims of Chinese government intimidation efforts. This refutes any possible claims that Texas is being racist against Asians by specifically pointing out how it's actually protecting Asians from an authoritarian regime like the People's Republic of China, led by the Chinese Communist Party. Trust me, China loves using the race card to shut down criticism it doesn't like, and this effectively prevents that. The next order, Executive Order 48, likewise emphasizes that the PRC threatens people of Chinese origin and focuses on protecting against Chinese influence. It cracks down on contractors controlled by foreign adversaries, prohibits state employees from accepting gifts from and traveling to countries of foreign adversaries, strengthens background checks, requires reporting of any travel, foreign gifts, and contract disclosures regarding foreign adversaries, and requires written bans on participation in any foreign recruitment program by a foreign adversary in employee manuals. Laws cracking down on government corruption? It isn't a dream, it's possible. This is especially a big move in countering Chinese influence in higher education, as universities tend to be pretty chummy with China. for obvious reasons. They don't want to be racist. Of course, universities claim they're maintaining relationships with China in the name of international peace and mutual understanding, so they shouldn't cut all ties. This is all while China sees U.S. campuses as the perfect opportunity to repress students abroad. Not to mention all the technology China gets through these academic relationships, potentially boosting their military. And that leaves Executive Order 49, which focuses on protecting Texas's infrastructure. That order tasks the Texas Division of Emergency Management to convene a task force to survey critical infrastructure vulnerabilities and recommend policies. Requires the Public Utility Commission to conduct an annual tabletop exercise and recommend policies in the event of an Indo-Pacific conflict. Requires TDEM to conduct an annual tabletop exercise simulating a cyber attack on Texas's economy and lead state agencies to plan against electromagnetic threats, and task the Electricity Reliability Council of Texas to create a secure channel for telecommunications during a grid incident. This is a crucial order since China is constantly looking for ways to target everything from communications to energy, transportation, water systems, and more in the event of war. Even our teeth. As FBI Director Christopher Wray points out, China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities. Low blows against civilians are part of China's plan. I assume he means that figuratively, but I wouldn't put it past China to invent a kick-in-the-groin drone balloon, then claiming it wasn't them, it was just a civilian kick-in-the-groin drone balloon. And like it or not, war constantly looms thanks to China's actions on Taiwan and the South China Sea. So as we can see, Abbott and Texas are certainly doing a lot more to prepare for this possibility compared to U.S. federal agencies. In fact, according to this 300-page report from the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, agencies like the Department of Homeland Security and Department of Transportation have no plans to protect against attacks on critical maritime and transportation networks and infrastructures. If you don't have time to read through the report, or don't want to because it's 300 pages long, I highly recommend you check out my summary of it. I'll leave a link below. But things may not have gotten this bad had the U.S. not given China so much money in the form of foreign direct investment. And guess what? As mentioned earlier, Abbott is doing something about that as well. In addition to encouraging Vanguard and requiring university assets to divest from China, he's also directed all Texas state agencies to fully divest portfolios from China ASAP. That's a bold move for Texas, as China is the third largest source of foreign direct investment in the state after Mexico and Canada. However, the actual level of investment may actually be higher, since Chinese companies often partner with Mexican firms in joint ventures. As you can imagine, China's not too happy with Texas at the moment. The Chinese embassy responded by saying, "We hope that the relevant politicians in the U.S. will discard Cold War mentality and ideological bias, stop political maneuvering, and refrain from slandering China." Yes, refrain from slandering China, because as we all know, China is a totally peaceful country that would never harass or coerce other people. In reality, Texas is making moves every other state should be making. Thank goodness some are already doing so. The governors of South Dakota, Mississippi, and Iowa joined Abbott last year in requesting Vanguard to help move investments away from China. Florida, Indiana, and Missouri have also made moves to divest from Chinese-owned companies. Not even Florida is crazy enough to want anything to do with China. Florida man is insane, but he's not reckless. States are also moving to block Chinese citizens from buying U.S. property, especially the kind that just so happened to coincidentally be near U.S. military bases coincidentally. So whether Americans like it or not, China poses a threat, and it's a threat that can't just be given to the U.S. federal government to deal with. There needs to be a whole society approach to counter China at all levels, state and local included. Now, before YouTube kicks you to a random video, here's a new episode from my gaming channel about Age of Empires 2 and what makes a good civilization. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thank you for watching America Uncovered.